Gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Last Cloudia. We're going to be talking about something a little different here, as you can see, the UR Arc Guardians. Now, this is an arc that you currently cannot get in any gacha. You have to do some in-game stuff in order to get this, so I'll be going over a little bit briefly how to get this particular UR arc, and I'll also talk about the actual arc itself, which is what I'm going to do first. First off, actually, shout out to Kit. If you caught the Last Cloudia End stream, live stream, it was pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to some of the unit buffs, specifically Melza and Nocturne Team Keeley. So I'll be looking for that on July 29th. And of course, there are going to be some buffs on the 24th of June, so look forward to that. It's going to be a huge update with lots of other things. I'm not going to go into that. There are some other content creators who've already went through it, so definitely watch them. But right now we're going to focus on the UR Arc Guardian. So, starting with the Arc attribute, receiving experience from quests and tours. Units non-participating shifts also receive experience. All attributes, skill, and magic damage plus 15%. Damage from God-type enemies minus 15%. And a further minus 10% from boss God-type monsters. So, as far as the attributes concerned, the main thing that you care about is the first part. So you're getting the best bang for your buck, specifically with Theria, because she actually has two other shift forms. So if I have this equipped to Spirit Maiden Theria, that means that whatever experience she gets, Saintly Theria and then the original Theria will also get experience at the same time. And same with any other shift. So Night Lord Kyle, you use him, regular Kyle will also get experience as well. So that's the main reason to do it, is if you're using a character and you want to basically level someone else at the same time, it's decent because, you know, you have a way of leveling up older characters but that you don't want to use by using their better form. So I think it's pretty good. It's pretty decent for that specific trait. As far as the skills you can learn, we're going to go with the attack up 2, which is normal, same with Grand Guard. Now, some of the new stuff is fast speed. I'm not sure we've seen that on an arc before, but for 1SC, you basically start off at speed for the first 40 seconds, not too bad. Fast vitality, I'm actually a huge fan of this skill, which you can get from other arcs. Basically, you get a vitality boost at the beginning. Really, really like it specifically for Arena. You get Light Shield, so basically just damage from enemies, light attacks minus 20%. That's okay for specific boss fights. And then Hero's Bond, which is definitely new. 15 SC, by the way. If at least 2 allies have Hero's Bonds equipped, boost their Strength, Defense, Intelligence, and Mind. 2 gets 7%, 3 gets 14%, and 4 gets 21%. So this is basically the more expensive and stronger version of Beast Alliance. Whether it's worth it or not, I don't know, to be honest. I can see people running Beast Alliance mainly because there are certain characters in the game that naturally have it, so it's not going to cost too much SC for all of your characters if you have it that way. Whereas no one really has Heroes Bonds naturally, so that means you're going to be sacrificing 15 SC for 4 different characters. I don't know if I can justify that. I believe in the update, certain characters are going to be able to get their SC up a little more. So I think as the SC cap goes up, this might become viable. But right now, I'm a little iffy on this, so it's really hard to say. And the other thing I need to discuss as far as the arc is concerned is the Ether Reward. This is Radiant Armor of Arden. Now, this is a 7-star armor with 450 HP, 248 defense, and 150 mind. So those are good stats, by the way. That's actually not bad. And then the trait, when revived, your basic 4 stats, strength, defense, intelligence, and mind go up by 25% on that unit. And you also get a plus 5 to your dark resistance. The trait is okay. I mean, you obviously know what this is for. You're equipping it to your tank. You are letting your support character revive that person when they die, and they're just going to get a bonus. So that's pretty much what it boils down to. It's okay. It's nothing really to get super excited about, but I think it's okay. That's the best thing I can say. The biggest thing about this item that's decent is just the stats. The numbers are really, really good for what it is, but that's pretty much it. I wouldn't use my Ethereum for it, to be honest. I think there are some better armors out there that you can use your Ethereum on, or just better items in general from SSR arcs, so I don't know. Hard to really say, but this is basically what this arc is. Again, the biggest thing about this arc is the being able to get double the experience, so to speak. Basically, the experience from your whatever you're using plus whatever shift forms they have. And that's really the only reason. And keep in mind, you have to do a lot of late game content to unlock this. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what you need to do to unlock this so you can decide if it's even worth trying or not. Me being a collector, of course, I feel obligated to do it. So obviously I went through all this stuff. But let's go ahead and go over that. So right now we're on the world map. The location is going to be at the southeastern part of the map towards where the end game is, where we just completed the first story arc. It's on the Monster Collector's Manor over here. So when you go here, there's going to be some dialogue that I'm going to go ahead and just let it play through. But basically what you have to do is there's going to be some dialogue when you first get here that's going to tell you that they want you to more or less defeat these super bosses. And that's how you do it. Now, to unlock this particular area, you have to collect all of the monster rewards from the previous ones and all the other locations. I think you only have to do the first wave of each one. The second wave of each one, I think, is optional if you want to get further rewards. But I don't think you have to complete it the second time to get this particular area. Now, this will also require you to do a lot of other side quests because in order to unlock certain bosses, there are specific things you need to do. So I'll kind of go over some of that. Won't spend too much time on it, but that's what it's going to be. So by the time you get here, there are certain bosses that you probably have already defeated, and I'll kind of show you. For example, the Mad Tree. This is a boss that a lot of us have killed way before this event, or this became even an option for this particular area. The Mad Tree is pretty easy to beat. Well, if you're at the point of getting this area unlocked, you probably would have beat this already. It's nothing really to talk about. Pretty easy to deal with. I would also say that this boss here, Lugmekia, wasn't super hard, to be honest. So there's not really much to talk about there. And let's take a look at maybe some of the ones that were probably the more challenging ones or newer ones. Oh yeah, this is also one that you may have already defeated by the time you got here because they released this a little while back. This was a fun one mainly because once you beat it, you basically had to tank a ton of damage. Thankfully, I have a really, really strong ray, so I was able to tank that with some good time healing, so we were good there. But this is a fun boss, but nothing really super crazy. Here are some of the ones that I think are the more interesting bosses. First, I was Lorg, the Heathen. I did a video discussing him. One correction I need to make is, I think I said that he was a sorcerer. I was completely wrong. He is a spirit. So you definitely need Spirit Slayer against her, not Sorcerer Slayer. So just making that distinction now. He was a boss that was pretty tough, not gonna lie. I mean, nowadays there's much better units, but the main thing that I needed to beat it was Spirit Maiden Theria, and unfortunately the one that I had was not up to par yet, so I had to borrow one of my friends, or someone on my friends list to help beat it. But basically, Spirit Slayer, just deal tons of damage and you should be good to go. It basically, as long as you have a good healer and some decent DPS, you'll be fine, in all honesty. Now, this right here, the mother machine or whatever, this one was kind of annoying. Basically, you can't really hit the boss. You have to kill the minions. Now, I think that Alice is probably the best unit to use, but unfortunately, I didn't have her, or I didn't have her built up, one of the two, by the time this came out. So I ended up using Merity, who is also a fantastic unit as a main DPS. I believe I also used Spirit Maiden Theria to keep the heals up. And I think I had Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, just to make sure that the important people didn't die. But an interesting fight, though. Like, it just has that whole thing of you don't hit the boss, you hit the minions, more or less. That's all it really was, in waves. This particular, well, I'll talk about this later. That's the last one I want to talk about. I think this. Ah, yes, this is the one I wanted to talk about. Now, this one is interesting. This is the first what I consider super, super interesting. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to that area so you can see why. So we're back on the world map. You got to go to the Grave of Heroes, which is also unlocked after, I want to say you've completed the story. But It's basically Guardians of Heroes, which you can fight a second time after you've cleared it, I believe. I don't really remember, but basically this is the boss that you have to use specific type of units. So if I was to move over to, say, my party 3, it'll say not usable. So in this particular fight, you can only use specific characters. And these are all the characters that are technically dead in the main storyline. These are people that were older heroes from back in time. So as you can tell, this is a team that I used. I don't remember if I used this exact setup. More than likely I did, but at the time, my goal was to use Guardian Angel Lukiel as the main DPS. I used Lena as the healer, obviously, and then Tinkili was more just someone that kind of boost my SCT and things of that nature, and provide secondary healing or resurrection if needed. But yeah, the main DPS obviously was Lukiel, mainly because you need her to stop time to try to spam the boss after you defeated the minions, and that's kind of what the whole thing about this particular boss is. You have to kill the little like elements, which I think are all considered dragons for some reason. And then of course the boss is a dragon, so Dragon Slayer is definitely needed. And what you do, or what I did, and I'm sure others have done it too, is basically you kill all the little minions, and that'll basically make it to where you can actually deal good damage to the boss. And at that point, that's where you activate your special and spam as many skills as you can. Now, at the time, I did not have the Great War of Ruin arc, nor did I have the Solaris arc, so mine was pretty rough, because like once I did the special, it still had some damage that needed to be dealt, so I kind of had to, push and push, and I eventually got through after taking some hits, because it does do a hit that'll basically, do a ton of damage, potentially KO some of your units, which is why you definitely want a good healer with some resurrection. But that's kind of what this fight was. Again, they're really interesting because of how limited you are and, who you can actually use. I really thought that was a really, really cool thing to do. So let's go ahead and check out the next one. So just so you know, the name of the monster is a Dreadworm Galanova that we just looked at. But, oops, I didn't mean to leave. But basically, there's one other boss that you need to defeat in order to get this UR arc. And this was going to be the most difficult one, I think, for most people to do because of the further limitations that you have that I'll go over in a second. But this is going to be the Demon Lord Adel. And we're going to go ahead and go to that area just so I can kind of show you where it is and what you need to do with it. Alright, so you're going to need to go to the Dark Palace. This is on the northeast side of the map, basically on the lower end of the snowy area. The Dark Palace, you come here, and then this also has a locked feature, meaning that basically, one, you can't use arc skills. That's a very important thing to know. And two, you have to use very specific heroes that are not any of these. That's right, you have to use monster units. And this is the exact build that I had when I beat this particular boss. So this was a tough one. This took me a while. One, because I don't use monster creatures, so I had to really just build them from scratch. Thankfully, the game naturally gives you unit shards of these characters, so I was able to use all those random shards I had to basically level them up a little bit as far as getting them to 4-star. And their SC is kind of low. I think I only have them at maybe 50 SC a piece. I say between 50 and 60 SC. So, it's low but doable. So here's the thing about this boss. I've tried a lot of different combinations, but this is a team I ended up using. Specifically for Dragoon, I kind of went with the main DPS build. Getting his special was definitely the important part. I did something that I found interesting with this guy. I basically gave him the Rivizard Halberd for fun. Basically what that does is when equipped, Vizards become Rivizards in battle and have raised abilities. I did it just to kind of match the theme. There's probably better weapons you could have used. But because I am using a spear, I did go ahead and do a lot of the spear type attacks. I think I had a two-handed spear, spear boost, spear high boost. stuff like that. Also, he is a breaker. Well, he has breaker naturally, I should say, but basically he was mainly there for the DPS. The other important factor for me winning this fight was, believe it or not, the Goblin. So I gotta pull him actually up if the game will let me. Because there's something important about this guy you should know. It has nothing to do with anything I've equipped on him. It's his S3. Attack a single enemy, randomly inflicts rage, blind, or poison. The thing about this S3 that's important is that not only does it do all these little abilities, it actually helps break the boss hardcore. It literally lowers the break bar down by, I'm gonna say maybe 20%. I might be a little bit off on that, but it does definitely tick down that breaker meter really, really fast. So you definitely want to get his S3 up as often as you can. Using that little goblin guy, he's a lot better than I thought he would be. And oh, I also have the an arc that helps with breaking as well. So I got a little boost from that. But yeah, so basically breaking the boss is the important thing here. And he also has illness. I think he has illness research as well as part of his kit. I can actually look it up real quick. I believe he has it in his kit. Let me see. Oh yeah, illness research. He actually gets it for free. So that's actually really, really cool to have. And also, I think he has silence as well. I didn't really mess with it, but you can silence him if you want to keep him from casting spells. I mainly just focused on doing regular attacks so that I can get that off. Also, I recommend Undead Shield and Undead Slayer for this fight. This is an undead character. And then obviously you use Paco for the healing. I did kind of dress him up a bit. I actually have like robe equip and stuff like that on him, so I had, some craziness on this little guy, just to kind of help out. So it made the fight not too terrible once I, figured out an interesting build. But yeah, this is definitely the hardest boss only because of the limitations that you have on what you can use. Literally, you can only use monster units. So I thought that was really interesting. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, this is basically the bosses that you have to beat in order to get the UR arc. And of course, it's not just about beating the bosses, because remember, you have to do a lot of side quests to get here. So to get to Zalorg, you have to catch all of the butterflies and do that little side quest. Which, I'll be honest with you, of all of the, let's say if you decide that you don't think it's worth doing all this to get the UR arc, and you're just gonna like do one or two of these just to get an item, I highly recommend doing the Zalorg fight. Highly. This gives you, in my opinion, the best sword in the entire game. And I think I went over that in one of my videos, but the sword that you get from this particular fight is 100% worth doing. The rest of them give you some interesting items, but nothing that I would say that's completely worth bragging about. The Zalorg sword is really the big deal. So if nothing else, if you're not interested in doing all these bosses, at least do the Zalorg fight. You'll thank me later, especially if you use Alice. I think Alice is probably the best candidate for that sword, since her character build is specifically for specials, and she can definitely wipe the board with her spells. Probably, in my opinion, the best unit to use in terms of special. Like the only two units whose special I think is like above and beyond is Alice and Guardian Angel Lucio, because she stops time and all that. But for the sword, you definitely want to give it to Alice. Now, if you don't have Alice, I mean, the sword is still good in general. There are other DPS units you have that can equip a sword, and if you want to make sure that special deals the damage you want it to deal, you definitely want that sword. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much what you have to do. You have to do the bug catching net. You have to collect all of the bottles. Now, I'll be honest with you, there was one bottle that I just could not find for the life of me. I actually had to go online and research where a certain bottle was, and even after I was shown where it was, I still couldn't tell by looking at it. I just had to tap around until I found it. So that was a little tedious. And there are some, I'm not sure if there's like one or two other little side quests that you have to do to unlock some of these, but, oh no, you have to have certain arcs. Like, for example, I think you have to have a specific arc for the Lugmekia one, and I'm not sure if we need an arc for any of the other ones. I don't really remember off the top of my head, but Oh yeah, and then for the Pablo one, if you hadn't already done it, there's a little side quest thing you have to do to unlock this particular fight as well. So again, there are a variety of things that you have to do side quest wise to even unlock these bosses, and then you have to fight these bosses, which some of them can be a real challenge, especially if you don't have the right characters to deal with them. Like I said, the hardest one for me was the one with the whole monster scenario. So that might take you a while to build up if you think if it's even worth it. I'm a collector, so I feel obligated to do it. But I mean, that's pretty much what it is. But I just kind of want to throw this video out there just to kind of show everyone that, it's doable, especially the monster one. You don't have to have like a fully built ADSC unit. You could probably even have some of those monsters at 3 stars and potentially be able to do it. I just wanted to put them at 4 stars just as an insurance policy where I wouldn't have to struggle too hard. And you might have some other monster builds that might even be better than what I used. But hopefully, this helps you kind of make an informed decision on whether that UR arc is worth getting or not. And at the moment, this is the art that you cannot get through a gacha pull. This is something you specifically have to get through doing all of these quests and beating all these little bosses and just beating them once. But that's going to be it for this video. Be super hyped for the big update coming on June 24th. Lots of good stuff. Official multiplayer release, buffs to old units, all kinds of stuff. So, and of course, new UR arc, new character. I'll definitely be doing a video on that as well. So until next time we meet, keep gaming and take care, everyone. Later.